You are watching Omnis Protocol, and I am Charles, also known as Omnis. And this particular battle report is pretty exciting. I scheduled a tournament this past Saturday, and one of the things that we were going for was sort of a kind of most creative list award. And so it was really encouraging the people in the community to kind of dig and see what interesting ideas that they could come up with or experiment with to kind of break the norm. And so I think we got some really cool stuff. And so here is one of the first games. And so in this particular one, we have Ryan playing Republic and Jason playing kind of also Republic, but very, very different. So Ryan's list is Cad Bane with Commander Cody, 7 Scorch, and then Anakin with Fixer and Arfs. And then Jason's list is Darth Vader Jedi Hunter with Obi-Wan out of hiding, 501st, Darth Maul, Aurra Singh, and Padawan learners. So as you can see, absolutely zero character overlap and just a both kind of offensive, but doing it in a fairly different way. And so talking for just a minute about Ryan's list, first off, I have really enjoyed Anakin and Cad Bane as a combination. I love that particular list, but I've only played it with Shock T. I have not played that specific list with 7 Scorch. I've played a Cad Bane Hunter list that utilized 7 Scorch. So I'm really excited to see how all of this kind of like rolls out. Plus, obviously, I'm not sure Cody's ever been on the channel before. People, even though he got buffed, he hasn't been talked about a ton kind of post errata. And so this is going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. I've played similar lists, like I said, but not quite this. So it rings a bell for me where this is the sort of thing that I'd like to dig into more, because I've also been wondering, is Anakin actually better in this particular meta than maybe the community is giving him credit for? Now, on the flip side, Jason's list, also very interesting, right? The combination of Darth Maul and Vader means that you've got a fair amount of force. So you can afford to spend for Obi-Wan out of hiding to be stripping away expertise from attack rolls. 501st and Padawan learners are just both very solid with Vader. And then Aurra Singh is a really interesting secondary here. She's becoming Galactic Republic, and so she can use Vader dice. She can also potentially get Coordinated Fire Strain. Now that conflicts with her different abilities, but there's a lot here. This list is going to be able to get good work done, maybe blunt key attacks. Obi-Wan can be very good at blunting those 5 dice revenge attacks. Not that it's going to matter in this matchup, but 2 really, really cool lists. And I'm excited to see how these kind of unfold against one another. So as always, big shout out to both Ryan and Jason for allowing me to record the game. Very much appreciate it. I really like featuring other people on the channel and not just doing my games. And so the fact that both of these guys were up for being recorded, cannot thank them enough. And I'm ready to dig into this matchup. So let's go ahead and take a look. So I believe here they are on shifting priorities, and Jason won priority. So it looks like for Jason, we have Darth Maul on the left side and then Vader on the right. And then looking up at Ryan's list, I believe that's Cad Bane on the left and Anakin on the right. So flips the objective. So it's going to be the top left objective and the bottom right will be active. All right, unfortunately, that gantry is blocking the objective a little bit. I believe that's a 501st pull. Oh, no, it was Aurra Singh. And so Aurra Singh is getting reserved, and now they pull 501st. This is an interesting start because obviously both sides have very, very offensive characters, and so the ability for any of these supports who get put on the midline to just die is kind of likely. One thing that would be kind of interesting here is obviously moving the 501st up to take an objective means that potentially they just die to Vader. So I think there's a couple things that you could do here. Is it looks like Jason is going for putting both of them on the same point, what Jason's doing here is he's trying to still secure his back point while taking an objective because of with how he positioned that he ended up with both of them being the one that's scoring the right. This is something you want to be careful of in your deployment. Now, neither of his secondaries can move someone from the middle and can move another character so that you could be guaranteeing, like often what I'll do is I'll have the supports contest the middle. So at least one support on both sides is contesting, and then have the secondaries on the outside when the secondaries can move other characters into contest. Now, in this particular situation, if you kind of know that Aurra Sing is not an early activation for you, I would have had her contesting a side point, not contesting the point that would have two characters on it. But, it is what it is now. The question here would be, do you want to go take two middle points as opposed to trying to take two side points? And that's definitely challenging. He doesn't have a lot of out of activation movement to trigger other characters, so I think this is a logical pick here. Maybe just in retrospect, because Aurra Sing was contesting something that had two characters on it, I think the reality is you probably just needed to activate Aurra Sing there and choose an objective for her to go after and save the 501st, because you just don't want to be stuck in that particular position. And of course, Ryan ends up pulling Vader right away, which is a dream situation for him. One thing that you can do in this situation that is kind of interesting, when you're worried about Vader and the objective is elevated, you can choose to put that character not on the right elevation and at least force it where if Vader wants to be on the right elevation, then he's not making a melee attack necessarily. And so in this particular setup, I think it would have been very interesting to choose to put that 150 first sort of under the terrain where they are contesting. And I think that would help maybe keep them alive here. Because almost anything that activates is going to be able to take take 150 first off of an objective. So, looks like 2 blocks and an expertise, which becomes 3 blocks. Or sorry, it wasn't Vader activated. It was Anakin. Same general principle. But Anakin's going to go 3 down for 5 damage, and then it's going to spend some more force and would really like to kill that poor 501st. Yeah, so in this situation, going back, because Anakin is on the same side of the table as Arf's, I don't know if he's in a world where he could potentially still get supporting fire to get onto the right objective. Four expertise, 2 hits versus 3 expertise becoming 2 blocks. So 7 damage and strain. So it is definitely going to be a dead 501st. The only plus side here is that it's only a support, so it's not triggering quite as much for Anakin. But I do think there's a world where keeping the 501st on the lower level could have been really advantageous there to try to create a situation where, sure, you're probably going to lose the objective if they pull Anakin, but if Anakin wants to kill them, then Anakin may not be on the correct level for scoring. So here we're just seeing him move around the characters for the wound trigger. Mm-hmm. Just some subtle dashes. I don't see anything critical here where I'd want to see anything particularly different. This is just like, maybe can you save a force later on? Can you be positioned in case the struggle ends quickly and you want to be on other objectives, stuff like that. I always find these Anakin activations really interesting because suddenly you're moving a whole bunch of characters and you kind of know in that moment that this positioning could really matter later on, but it's really hard to gauge right now where you want all of these characters to go. And it looks like almost everyone's getting obscured by terrain to make things more interesting. All right, looks like he scores 2 points. The first question would obviously be, do you activate Aurra Sing there? I think you definitely would like to take multiple objectives. It looks like he pulls Obi there, which is certainly not a bad pull. I think you usually want to get Obi up early, and so that he can potentially be handing, kind of depriving people of their offensive expertise is a big deal. So getting him up there early is certainly valuable. I think not activating Aurra Sing was a significant gamble, right? If you pulled Darth Maul, I suppose Darth Maul's activation is probably fine because he'd still pull Anakin off the point. And so, okay, in retrospect, yeah, I started talking, but I think I disagree with myself. I think keeping Aurra in reserve was the right play there. So the worst possible play is probably Darth Maul. You'd like to keep him on that side. Worst case, he can still go take the point from Anakin. So, all right, so this is the reposition. It looks like he is just not quite hitting that ingress point. But thankfully, he does still have a move action. It's going to be really interesting. One of my things that I'm probably most excited about for this particular game is to see how some of these revisited secondaries perform. Kind of across the board, outside of Fixer, obviously, but Fixer being played outside of boss lists is a little abnormal. But Cody, Obi, and Aurra Sing are all probably a little underplayed, or at least there's room to kind of see if do they have specific lists where they are great. So now obviously here you're in a spot where Obi needs to get good work done and like be scoring a point here because you're already in the score 2, but if this ends up being a turn where Jason only scores 1, that could be really bad. So you definitely don't want Obi to whiff here, but he's certainly reasonably happy to be over there and, potentially depriving Anakin of expertise in the future. So I think he's just a 6 dice melee attack. So he's got shoves, but there's certainly a world where this is not a very dependable. And we're in a world where Vader cannot give him extra dice anymore. those days are past. They used to work really great together. Anakin rolled awful, which is basically just a block. Funny thing here with how people are behaving with the dice is shuffling them into the edge, which is kind of disruptive to the camera angle. I don't know how much I do that. We're just being organized. I didn't see the exact amount of successes that he ended up with there. Looks like they're starting to resolve some shoves. I mean, he's going to go decently far down versus one block. So it looks like he is going to get Anakin shoved off the point. Looks like 4 damage on Anakin. And then he's going to follow up. Looks like 2 shoves. Just pushing Anakin a little further back. All right, back to the middle. They both gain a momentum. 7 Scorch. Man, really kind of perfect activations for Ryan in a lot of ways. Being able to have Anakin take that side from the 501st, and now he's getting 7 Scorch up. The only thing here is, like, are 7 Scorch going to be able to actually hurt someone? He elects to forego, wants to save them for a more impactful turn, and he pulls ARFs. But ARF's probably even better. So I like this play. He's choosing to take cover first, so that I think his plan is just to take both of the middle objectives. Which I like this play overall. Shooting at Obi is not super important. And so I like to just like, hey, get these objectives. Oh, and with Fixer up there, they get a bonus hunker token, which is nice. Now looks like defensive maneuver time. Yep. Yeah, I think overall this is a solid play. I think too often people are wanting to make sure they get those attacks in. I don't think this is an important turn to get the attacks in. I think he's definitely going to wish that he had Obi-Wan when he loses those 3 hunker tokens. But yeah, I think taking a score of 3 and like putting your opponent in a position where they have to, where they've got to just deal with you starting to score more. My positioning of the train, definitely wonderful for seeing Jason's next card. I think that's Padawans. We'll see what he says. Got to get up, do some good work. Oh, looks like it may be Vader. Yeah, must be Vader's card under there. So not sure what the plan here is. I mean, if it's Vader, I think I'm definitely just going for the middle and killing an ARF. Oh, it's his Shatterpoint card is what it is. Okay, so he's electing to go ahead and do Darth Maul. Interesting. So with the Shatterpoint, what would I want to do here? I I don't know. Padawans might actually have been a really nice Shatterpoint here, where you could potentially take both points. Like, they're not going to have a hard time, especially with Vader dice, getting both of the ARFs off points and taking both of those points. It's slightly dangerous for their livelihood over the course of a long game, but I think there's a pretty reasonable chance. I mean, they may even kill the ARFs. And then a score 4 for Jason would be huge here and could potentially be swinging the struggle. So I know Shatterpointing Padawans may not be the thing that someone would expect me to say, but my gut is, without like seeing the really specific measurements, I feel like both of the Padawans could have gotten to that midline and be punching those ARFs, and I think the ARFs would not have liked that. All right, but we end up with Darth Maul. He did take 1 damage to get force speed. Now, a little examining of stance cards. Yeah. Definitely a downside with the Padawans would have been like, they're definitely getting 7 scorched next, which probably means that they die. But at least if you score 4 and then Ryan scores 3, they're also, at least put you on that flip. And then you probably would be happy with Darth Maul or Vader going into 7 Scorch is a really optimal activation for them. Yeah, I think I'm on the Padawan train here. A very underrated support, and one that I really need to get painted, to be entirely honest with everyone. I need to assemble those guys, but I've been contemplating seeing if I want to do something where I do use the heads and like lightsabers and stuff from the Padawans and put them on clone bodies to kind of have a Sith trooper, like Sith apprentice wearing armor vibe. Yeah. All right. So he does take the 2 damage to pull, to go ahead and pull the trooper. Now he's going to double lightsaber to the face for that poor ARF. One thing that could be interesting here is if Darth Maul hits a reposition, I can't see exactly which side he's on, but if he gets up next to the rocks, it could be very hard to shove Darth Maul off of that point without trying to get to the other side and potentially being in range for Obi to take away expertise from 7 Scorch. All right. Seems like he's just going to straight up kill the ARFs with 8 damage, a strain, and a shove. They are definitely choosing violence. I don't know what happened to these guys this week, but they came ready to collect wound tokens. Yeah, I think here, when you're playing Obi, one of the interesting things to keep in mind is where your characters end up being in relation to Obi. Because you want, if someone is going to potentially want to get into melee, you're like, can you make it so that if they get into melee with Maul, that they are within range of Obi and things like that? He can be kind of a lightly complicated character to play at times. But I definitely think it's an interesting inclusion here. Choosing to back up Maul. I don't think I'm a fan. I think it makes it a little too easy to shove Maul off the point. I would have potentially liked him further forward up against the terrain so that if 7 Scorch want to shoot him at a distance, they're going to have to shove him quite a few times to actually get him off the point. But Might just be they're trying to keep the boy alive, where, he's only got 7 health left. So might be trying to get him into that Obi bubble if they can help it. But I think it's going to be, I don't think it'll be too difficult for 7 Scorch. So the thought process there is a little hard to actually get the template down, but it basically was going to dash and then hit that ladder. I definitely think the 7 Scorch activation here is the right call. I would certainly be considering, is there a world where you could score 4? Obi is almost certainly going to expose them. So I don't know if they're going to reliably shove him off the point. So it might just be where you stack up or try to get it so 7 Scorch are on the left and the middle point after shoving or killing Darth Maul. There's a lot of weird positional stuff with Ryan's particular list and wanting to be in range of other things. So it looks like an advance. I think it's trying to stay out of melee with Maul. Maul only gets to do his revenge trigger versus a melee attack, so that part is significant. Yep, repeating the same thing where he's doing a full advance and keeping 7 Scorch, both models, outside of range 2. They get a hunker token because they ended outside of range 2 of Maul and within range 3 of Fixer. All right, Sav is shooting first. He's getting a bonus die from Fixer. He's just double checking there, making sure that Fixer is within range 5 of Darth Maul, which I believe he's under the gantry at the moment. All right, looks like 2 blocks and an expertise from Maul. Oh, one thing about the Anakin movement that really pays off is also having Cody moved up so that they get rerolls. I can't see exactly where Cody is at the moment. Looks like it's only going to be 3 down, so not a huge hit there for something where he had rerolls and a bonus die. So it's going to be 4 damage, strain, and shove. Now, Scorch is taking a shot. This one's just going to be 7. Wow. 5 fails for Darth Maul there. Wow. That's an impressive block roll for sure. He did get to reroll 2 fails because of Cody. Already starting off, Cody getting some work done there. So I'm pretty sure that's going to be a dead Maul. Six damage, disarm, 2 shoves, and a climb. 7 Scorch doing work to poor Maul. Does Maul have the most tragic story in all of Star Wars? They got a wound, so Cad Bane gets a refresh of force. No revenge from Maul because it was both range attacks. He's spending a force for supporting fire dash because the attack is resolved. Ooh, I definitely like this play. As we were talking about wanting to score obscure points whenever you can, I definitely like getting back there and putting that pressure. Certainly exposes Vader a bit. That does win the struggle. All right. All right, so we have moved on to Struggle 2. That was fairly quick. Struggle 2, it's going to be triangle shape with the back left, back right, and top middle. Not a wonderful flip, though, because, well, I guess Padawans are scoring that back point right away. Flipped objectives wrong for just a moment. All right, and it is the fail, which is the one where Sev and or Scorch is. Interesting play here. So I think obviously what you're hoping for here is to get Darth Vader, but you don't want to pull the Padawans here because the Padawans are the ones already starting off on a point. And so if you don't do Aurra Sing, but Aurra Sing really needs to take this point. And yeah, so I can see the struggle here because you're like, are you willing to gamble and hope that you get Vader? But the backfire would be pulling the Padawans. I think there's a reasonable chance that, well, I guess part of the problem with Aurra is that she doesn't have a ability to double move and then shoot. So I don't know if she gets a good angle. And he did get what he does not want, which is the Padawans. So Order Deck is not helping Jason in this particular matchup. Yeah, so I think he's got to go for the play now that... Yeah, so the thought process here is like, okay, where do you want the two Padawans to end up? They can definitely, if they can both get on the point, they can at least take it, but they can do good damage too. So, it's still going to open them up, but would have definitely loved Vader there. Unfortunately, Aurra has kind of put this list in an awkward spot this particular game. She provides an interesting gun, but at the same time, the list is kind of constantly in a spot where they really wish that they had one other secondary that can move characters. But excited to see how this Padawan activation goes. He's just kind of getting a gauge here for about how far are they going to be able to move. Yeah, this may seem like a thing where you don't put too much thought into it, but it's definitely an activation where if you mess it up, you could basically just end the game here. But I think they're going to be able to make it and do some good work on Sever Scorch, whichever one it is there at the moment. He's true. So here there was just a little bit of confusion where he was thinking he wanted to be within range to, he was kind of thinking about how the Mandalorians work, where they get the free focus within, when they do their normal movement, but they get the free focus if they end within range 2 of a Force user after they use their dash ability. But they can do it with each other. All right, so now they're doing their little Force skip. Hard part here is it looks like the top one is probably not on the point at that moment. And they're going to have some rough shove angles. All right. I think it's probably Vader dice time. This is what we came for, right? Roll all the dice. We're not playing chess for a reason. They synergize so well with Vader because they have the heals on their tree. So they can often just get good work done and remove damage so that they're not feeling as much of the effects of that Vader identity. All right. Back one is going to go first with Vader dice. Just 4 melee defense for 7 Scorch. 2 blocks. Looks like a very solid roll from that Padawan. Damn, that's full tree? Yeah, that's a full tree for sure. Yeah, 2 expertise becomes 2 hits, which were blocked, so basically 7 down. That Padawan deserves a raise. They just became knighted. Choosing the tree here, that really kind of opens things up. Like maybe there's a world where he actually gets a wound on them. So 1 heal, 2 pushes, which don't really super matter. I believe they call me over here. It's kind of hard to tell on camera, but basically the tip of Sev's base is kind of before the midline of that trooper's base, and so it ends up making it so there's not really a shove angle, because at least part of the base is they're past each other's midline, if you can kind of imagine that. But he's still going to be able to get onto the point. He got a reposition, I believe, on the tree. I don't see damage being put down yet. We'll see if they... So we are doing another Vader dice roll. Two blocks for them. Lots of fails on that one. So 4 down to 2. So basically 2 damage and a heal, which will be like 1. Oh, it was just they put the damage on Fixer instead. So got 5 damage through. Not too bad for on a protection unit. That's pretty solid. And he scores 2. Cody comes up now. Priority objective is the expertise, which is the one backed by Jason's order deck. Reserving Cody. And he gets Fixer. So first thing he's got to do is he gets to do a recover and a dash on a clone. Sev gets to heal 1, back up, hit a ladder. Kind of reinforce the back point. I generally like plays like this where when you're not being able to go after the priority point, the more you can make it like actively difficult to end up being able to take the back points, could work to your advantage in the long run. Mm-hmm. So I think what he's thinking about here is, can he be in a position where he is able to hopefully get some heals on 7 Scorch to make them harder to wound? He's going to take cover but not move, looks like the plan. And then he's going to take a shot at Maul. Adding Delta dice. I don't know. He looks engaged with Maul, so I'm not sure he would get a hunger token. All right, he's backing that up anyway. He is not going to hunker. Oh, I think it's must be Clone Commander Cody that was further up, and Fixer was still under the thing. All right, that makes more sense. All right, so he just moves. I think he climbs up, and then just wants to get heals on the one who's next to him. Or no, it was an ARF there. That's what I was looking at, not Cody. Looks like Obi's removing expertise, but then rolled no expertise. So 4 hits and a crit for Fixer. He's going to go 2 down after 3 blocks. All right, looks like Aurra Sing time. That was just a 1-point score, but gained momentum for Ryan. Block, that is the point with both Fixer and Sev on it. They're both getting like awkward priority rolls for sure. I don't think it's either of their preference. Yeah, this is definitely an awkward turn, but I think getting Aurra activated here is probably a safe bet. I think my thought process here is, can she take a shot at Sev first? Yes, I like this. So he's just doing an advance to move close enough to Sev to get a shot in. And using expendable distraction on the Padawan learners. This is such a such a kind of, I don't know if it'd be sadistic or masochistic, but it definitely is using health as a resource for sure. All right, 4 expertise for Sev. Yeah. Yeah, so it looks like full tree for her. Yeah. I think Aura Singh is killing a clone here, which is kind of her job. You ever watch the Clone Wars cartoons? She definitely gets that done a few times. Yeah, I think whenever you can get an early wound on 7 Scorch, it's a big deal. Especially if you end up playing a longer game, you want to be in a position where once they activate a second time, if you get them killed before they can activate a second time, then you're in a position where you can kill them again and hope that their third activation is them leaving the table. Then she spends a force for reposition, which puts her back on that point. So I like that turn. I think being able to score 2 points, right, and and get a key wound, I like that. So as a score 2, expertise is Aura's point. So right now, Cody is in reserve. What does he have left? I think he has a Shatterpoint and Cad Bane. Here, I don't know. If I were in Ryan's shoes right now, I think he is in a somewhat advantage position overall for the game. And so I think I would be trying to concede the struggle and go for damage here. And so I'd really want to be able to save my Shatterpoint for the next turn. And so here I think I would be wanting to utilize Cody and just see if I can get some good damage in. We know that the last 2 cards for Jason is going to be Darth, Maul, and Vader. So. Just kind of checking some movement options. He's definitely thinking he can get a shot, but he's concerned that it's not really super impactful. Even if he shoves Aura off, he's probably not getting Cody there. So he is going to go ahead and activate Cody. I like the play. He was thinking he was going to dash and expose Obi, but Obi's immune to expose. So he elects to not activate Cody, and he does pull Cad Bane. He's realizing he needs to conserve his last force unless he gets a wound somewhere. But there isn't kind of a great way to have gotten a wound. I think I would have liked to. I mean, I think Cody still would have been a very solid play there, and maybe you see if he can maybe have killed the Padawans, which would have been nice. And if he gets that, that could have set things on a good direction. He's not going to score a point there, but that's fine. I think I would be wanting to let this struggle end and just see if I can get damage out. So just kind of takes a boring turn, gets to a different point, conserves force, scores 1. Prio fail, which is a point he already has. So I definitely like, it seems like Ryan is ready to let this struggle wrap. I think while we're in such an aggressive meta overall, I think when you win struggle 1, don't drag out struggle 2 and potentially let your opponent put you into a worse position. I mean, both from the factor of just like how long do you have to play games, but also just kind of looking at where you're at, letting them stack up damage and stuff on you can be rough. Here they're just kind of reviewing like which objectives are most likely to be active next turn. Middle is very commonly active for the third struggle. He's just kind of examining a Vader card at the moment, contemplating plans. I think he has already revealed the Vader card, so it is definitely a Vader activation. I suppose he could reserve and do Maul. Let's see. 7 Scorcher already wounded. Fixer's kind of all the way in the back. Arfs have been wounded. Yeah, I think this is probably kill Anakin, right? Yeah, I think this is Vader on Anakin violence. So he starts off with an advanced, kind of getting closer. Now I assume he's going to do anger, hate, aggression. The question will be did he shove Anakin too far away, so now Vader can't actually engage him? But does look like they agreed he is going to make it, and so I definitely like Vader on Anakin is the right play here in my opinion. Spending the force for that Vader's Fury movement, not anger, hate, aggression. Let's see, there's already 4 damage on Anakin. And there is 7 health left on Anakin, so that's a really easy number for Vader in a lot of cases. I think Jason probably also likes having Vader on the Anakin side, because there's a reasonable chance if Anakin comes back and kills Vader, Vader at least gets to potentially dash and attack Anakin, who doesn't usually pin. Looks like Vader might be switching to the defensive side before the attack. He is spending 2 for additional dice. Ryan is saying goodbye to Anakin. Looks like Ryan here is covering dice because he's just thinking about whether or not he wants the coordinated fire strain or not. And he is electing to go ahead and do it. Three blocks, crit to hit. 2 expertise becomes 2 hits. Blocks 3, so it looks like he's going to go 4 down. Vader's dealing 8 damage. Strain. Two shoves and a pin. I think what he was hoping there is for movement so that Vader could then go get on a point. Yeah, I definitely think potentially trying to mess up Ryan's force economy before Struggle 3 is a good play there, so I liked all parts of that. He had a pretty reliable chance of getting the wound either way, so switching to the more defensive side doesn't really hurt him there, but he was going for, like, if the dice swing kind of heavily in his favor, maybe he gets some additional movement and gets some really great. Also, good play here by Jason. He's specifically trying to thread the needle with Anakin so that Anakin doesn't kind of start off in range of either of the objectives. Even though he's wounded, I think just putting him in a position where he's got to utilize movement is still advantage. All right. So 1 away from winning the struggle. All right. And so it is the block symbol, which is Fixer's point. Ryan is realizing he definitely would like to save his Shatterpoint for the next struggle. And so he's going to go ahead and get Cody activated here. I definitely agree on this. Moves within 3 of Vader, exposes Vader. He's thinking he wants to save his last force. Now he's going, well, do I spend the force now or am I saving it for a Shatterpoint activation? If he's Shatterpointing Anakin, 1 force doesn't really matter a whole lot. Just looking here. All right, so he is going to be getting 2 Delta dice, which is nice. So that's going to be a big Cody attack. So now what he's kind of wondering is, can he defensive maneuver and be outside of range of Obi's? So he's going to go ahead and do that. So basically here he's just utilizing the dash, wants it to be just outside of range 5 of Obi's ability to take away his expertise. Very slick play there. I like that. He's trying to stay as close as possible to the middle, but yeah. He doesn't want to end up being pinned behind the rocks, which blend in with the mat for the camera. He would like to still be able to shove himself on. So then he's going to focus and shoot Vader with Delta dice. So I believe he's up to 11 dice. One block for Vader. Three expertise for Cody, which will be crit hit damage. 7 down is what it looks like. I believe that's a full tree for Cody. Cody's first time on camera, first activation. Looks like he's just going to kill Vader. Does he get everything that he needs? Definitely a solid roll there. So he's going to do 9 damage, pin, strain. So not a kill, but he did mess up the scoring slightly. He would have scored 2 there, but it doesn't matter. I guess it could lightly matter. I mean, this is an interesting situation here where if they had scored it correctly and they gave 2 points to Ryan, and if the priority roll makes it so it doesn't guarantee that Jason takes the struggle, there's a world where you don't try to do it and you just go for more wounds for Jason and potentially force Ryan to have to utilize his Shatterpoint before getting to see what the third struggle will be. But, all right, so Darth Maul is the last card. We know that part for sure. So based on the board state, my gut here with Maul would be to kill Fixer. I think you want to put more strain on like the different mechanics for Ryan's list, and Maul could be on the middle, potentially scoring that objective, which nobody else is contesting at the moment. Also, Fixer is potentially standing on an objective right now, where Fixer is not. So right here, he's looking to see if Darth Maul is starting off within range 3 of... Ryan is saying you are within 3. I would definitely like to see Darth Maul... I would definitely like to see Maul walk forward, pull Fixer towards him, kill Fixer. Like, that would be... I think that would set him up really nicely for the next struggle. But it looks like he's wanting to go after Cody. There might be a little bit of revenge going on here, which does feed into Darth Maul's general vibes, right? He just saw Vader get a lot of damage put in on Vader. I think Darth Maul has some heals on the range tree. So I don't know off the top of my head if the range tree has enough damage to kill Fixer, but I think there'd be a really interesting world, like if you can heal some status effects off of Vader and get Fixer off a point and maybe potentially kill Fixer as well, you could be getting a lot done with this Maul activation. Here they were asking me, they just wanted to confirm that the amount of damage that Maul takes does go up when Maul is wounded. So basically, the pull and expose would cost 3 force, which means that Maul would take 3 damage, which is the case. So I think we're about to get some Cody violence going on. So he is electing to do the pull now. Basically, he just wants to pull him a bit. He doesn't want to end up getting Cody on the point. I think here he's realizing that he probably doesn't like Cody would have cover and a hunker token if Darth Maul is trying to throw a lightsaber. And so I think he's realizing that he's going to need to move anyway. Yeah, the bonus dice from Maul only helps on the melee attacks. And so I think in his heart he wanted to like focus and throw a lightsaber, but I think it's just probably better that he walks forward and melees poor Cody. Getting up there right next to some rocks, taking a big hit into poor Cody. All right. Cody's going to have 1 block. Looks like all hits and expertise, so solid Vader, or solid Darth Maul attack. 3 expertise on the attack roll, which was a crit hit and a damage, I believe. So he gets to go 6 down. That seems like it is probably a dead Cody. I got to admit, I'm kind of excited to put Cody on the table again. This has been interesting. Cody's synergies with Seven Scorch are definitely interesting. All right, he's moving backwards with the reposition, and he gets to heal 2. And that did end up being a dead Cody. That definitely ends the struggle. I think this is probably easy for Ryan. I think he's going to take the top layout. Either way, the middle is going to be active. Looks like nobody is on the back middle. And Cad Bane gets to start off contesting the top left. Yeah. He would have Fixer already on that back point. He's just thinking about what he has to do to kill the Padawans if he wants to take that point. Still some deliberation. I always like seeing people put some extra thought into this. I think his thought process here is that he would like to probably kill Vader and kill the Padawans with a 7 Scorch activation. I mean, I can't begrudge that plan. That's definitely interesting. Yeah, I think his thought process is that he likes the idea of Fixer being able to retain that point, but he is going to go ahead and take the top one, which I think was the correct call. So he does Shatterpoint 7 Scorch. I definitely like the overall plan here, which I kind of heard him discussing in the video. Like, can he kill Padawans, kill Vader, and then maybe still do the explosives on someone? And I mean, I like that overall plan. This setup ends up being pretty good for him. I think there is a world where he could elect to try to gang up on Maul and have both of them shoot Maul, who only has 1 damage, and try to go for the score 4. But I think the 2 wounds is probably better overall. And he could, if he gets both of them, he gets a pretty effective. He potentially like gets explosives that could really matter. One thing just for like game state stuff. Oh, it does look like Jason already refreshed all of his force. Is it important with a character like Obi-Wan that you know like Jason at the end of his last activation does need to reshuffle his deck, which means he reshuffles his force. It's not wait to do that until you need to draw a card. So now go ahead and moving Sev or Scorch, whichever one that is, away. Yeah, he's contemplating whether or not there's a plan to shoot Maul and try to take that middle objective as well. It's certainly not the worst idea, but I think the wound on Vader. I mean, both are valid plans here. The hard part here is he wants to end that movement within 3 of Fixer and stay outside of range 2. So he gets a hunker for ending near Fixer. He didn't quite move back far enough to get outside of the range 5 of Obi, is what it looks like, which is what they're checking there. He is going to go ahead and shoot the Padawans. 7 dice, no delta dice on this one. He is not within 4 of Cody, so he's not getting Cody rerolls on this one. Three down on the Padawans. I think that probably kills them. So now they're just being clear about which one was being shot. 3 damage, disarm, 2 shoves. Does get a wound there. It looks like he elected to not use the Obi expertise stripping. My gut is that Jason's list probably could have afforded it, and that's the only attack that they're taking. I think I would have potentially rolled for it. Oh, he's saving it for this one. That makes sense. So he's stripping the expertise on this attack. Four expertise gets removed, so big 2 fails, which he gets to reroll, which gives him a crit and an expertise. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So 4 blocks, so it's just going to be 1 down. Two damage. Well, I mean, 1 down is what he needed, which is just enough to kill Vader. Now there's 2 4s, which I believe he can throw some bombs. Supporting fire dash would also be an option. He's contemplating he could do a jump with Cad and a supporting fire dash, but so I think he's going to spend the 2 4s to do some 7 scorch bombs. He's questioning, like, do I want damage on Darth Maul? Is that a thing that I want here? So he's thinking, like, there's not really someone that he wants to put the damage on. So he's going to spend a force for supporting fire dash. Kind of get himself up against the rocks. He loses the hunker token since he's engaged with Maul now. Scores 3 points. Yeah, I think there, if you realize that you're not going to want to utilize the force in that moment, then I think taking the shot on Darth Maul would have been better. Because I think it would have been basically the same defensive role. I think their expertise are very similar if they're both on their defensive sides. So I probably would have gone for the shove then on Darth Maul and get him off the point. Someone can get a wound on Vader later on. So expertise is Cad Bane's point, which is probably not the pull that that Jason wanted. And this is one of the reasons why I talk about making the plays where you have characters kind of spread out across the board. Jason really has nothing in that quadrant. If you think about the table as split into 4 quadrants, that top left, he doesn't really have anything over there, right? Like Darth Maul is the closest character. And it's kind of this, I mean, it's a similar thing for Aurra Singh in the bottom left, but that's where I think a lot of people can end up losing games, is where you end up with this key flip. So it was Obi was the revealed card. He is going to reserve him. And pulled Aurra Singh. That's actually not bad. There is certainly a world where Aurra could even go after Cad Bane's point. probably wasn't the preferred pull. I think we've definitely gotten into a situation, at least this game, if we're just kind of like asking how good each of the secondaries are being overall, Aurra Singh does feel like she's been holding Jason's list back, where she's very rarely been the activation that he wants. Now, that's not to say that any other secondary wouldn't have necessarily been in a similar spot with just like order deck and how things are looking, but we definitely haven't seen quite as much work out of the secondaries for Jason as we've seen out of Cody and Fixer. So Aurra's just doesn't want to be within range 2 of range 2 and line of sight of Sev, who's on a point, and is going to shoot at the one that's on the middle, I guess. Yeah, because he wants to deal damage to Maul to get additional dice, so another expendable distraction play, more self-destruction from Jason. Now he's wondering if he can coordinated fire strain. And so because the terrible, or we've all done terrible things / expendable distraction is not a reaction, he can also coordinated fire strain, which he is electing to do because she is Galactic Republic. So it looks like 3 blocks for 7 Scorch. Looks like 3 crits, 4 hits, and an expertise. Expertise adds a crit. Yeah, so looks like full tree. Full tree plus a damage. I mean, I think she's pretty happy about that. It's not a score 3, it's not a score 3 turn because Cad Bane's point is the priority objective. But getting the second wound on 7 Scorch is a huge deal, and it allows Aura's activation to end up with Jason scoring 2 objectives. So I think overall he's happy with that. But it has been interesting how it feels like this whole game, it's almost always the wrong priority roll for whoever is rolling priority dice. So it was just a score 2 plus mission critical. So Anakin, there is a world here where Anakin could potentially end the game, right? With all his movement, because Fixer is alive. The question is, who is he going after? But yeah, there's a lot of wounded characters, but because Fixer hasn't been wounded, and this is where I think Fixer was the more important wound than Cody, especially considering the tiebreaker element. Let's see. So Anakin is kind of shoved in under that gantry. I think the thing is, I just don't know if he can get close enough to get a kill on Aurra. I think that would be optimal. If he kills Maul with a melee attack, he does have to deal with a revenge trigger. He elects to reserve Anakin and gets 7 Scorch, which... Can he get everything that he wants here? Yeah, because we're at mission critical, he needs to get Aurra off the point and not have her dash back on, which is complicated, and shove Darth Maul off the point. Which is possible. Or there's actually a world where he actually tries to shoot Aurra twice and go for that wound, because that's the more important objective, and you don't worry about Maul. Yeah, I think that's what we're seeing over here. I like that a lot. I think that's the right closing play, because if they both shoot and they can kill her, then you can end up in a spot where score 3, score mission critical, score 1 momentum for killing Aurra, as I think 7 Scorch have a pretty reasonable chance of being able to do that. So here, resolving the other free dash. There's a little question on like the order of the shots. I think you shoot with the one that's closer to the bottom of the screen first, shove backwards. If she doesn't roll expertise, then you're fine. You just take the point. If she does, you're hoping that the dash doesn't allow her. It makes it so that the other one can still do a ranged attack and doesn't end up engaged. Whereas if you do it in the reverse order, if the one in the middle shoots, she dashes and engages the other one and has to do a melee attack, which isn't quite as good. And the one on the bottom can't alternate to trying to shove Darth Maul off. So yeah, I definitely think the back middle one shoots first. But let's see how Ryan wants to close this thing out. Yeah, he doesn't want to focus, because like if dice go bad, he wants to be able to move onto that objective to at least guarantee that he scores that one. Looks like no expertise though for her. So it was a no expertise on the block roll and a block to fail. So it was 1 block. So that ends up being a tree on the first attack. So lots of ways. I feel like this almost certainly means that this is going to end the game. Six damage, 2 shoves, disarm. Leaves her at 2. He is, so it looks like he did the opposite order on the clones that I would have done. But I think it's working out just fine. She did not roll the expertise. And so now the other one just needs to do 2 damage to win the game. So 1 down, I believe. Now she has a good roll. 3 expertise, 2 blocks for Aurra Singh. The attack roll was 4 expertise, a fail, 2 hits, and a crit. The crit becomes a fail. and then 3 blocks after the block to fail. So it's just going to end up being 1 down, but that is enough because they have a 2 damage on 1, which will close things out. And so that gets the wound. Score 3 plus mission critical will end things. So interesting. Like I said, I think I would have done the opposite order on them. I think it would have been less potential backfire, but overall, still just like a really great game. 2 really interesting lists overall. I like what they were doing there. I think this really does showcase Cody in an interesting way. I imagine there hasn't been a ton of people who have tried Cody with 7 Scorch, and man, they're a character that you want to Shatterpoint. And with Cody, they're having even more effective turns. So I do think my takeaway here is there is a world where we should be playing more Cody. Now on the flip side, Obi-Wan and Aurra sing. I'm not sure they showed me something in this game that really like stood out to me as significant. Could be the specific list that they're in. Could be that they're still not super hyped in the perfect meta. Overall, I do like Vader and Maul, and I think both of them probably deserve more table time in this meta, and the Padawans. But if I would say if there's really a highlight character for me in this, it would definitely be Cody as like my number 1 pick overall. Just like his synergies with 7 Scorch were great. This wasn't a super crazy Cad Bane game, but I think just the fact that he was always getting to recover force from all of the different wounds that he was getting was a significant deal. So I think don't discount Cad Bane's contribution, even though it was a little subtle in the background. But man, overall, huge thanks to both Jason and Ryan. I really appreciate you guys allowing me to record. This was a really cool game and looked like it was fun to play in. You guys had a lot of interesting decisions, interesting angles to figure out, interesting measurements, and I dig the creativity with the list, which I think is really standout and showcases, I think, the value of the Seattle Bellevue community is that we really embrace the like, hey, let's try some interesting things, see what we come up with. And sometimes you find gems here. And I think Cody is a gem. Cody has been a much maligned character, and this has got me excited. I genuinely want to put Cody on the table after this game. So big shout out, Ryan. You've got me inspired, which is, what I'm always looking for. And shout out to Mox for hosting the tournament and allowing me to record games. Much appreciation to Mox Boarding House in Bellevue. And I'm just going to close things out here and say the most OP thing that you can do is clone Commander Cody. Jeez. Later, nerds.